Black History Month was not created to celebrate black people. It was created because black history was being erased. That makes some people uncomfortable, but it's still the truth. And here at Black Up North, we're uncovering the real reason we need Black History Month, because history is on the verge of being repeated again. Black History Month began as Negro History Week in 1926, created by historian Carter G. Woodson. Not because black people asked for special recognition, and not as a feel-good gesture. It was created because black history was missing from textbooks, classrooms, and public memory. Woodson understood something critical. When a people's history is ignored or distorted, the people themselves are misunderstood. And when black history is removed from the story, the history of this country doesn't make sense. This wasn't about holidays, assemblies, or inspirational posters. It was an intervention in how history was being taught. Black History Month exists because American history was being taught incomplete, intentionally. And what often gets lost is that it was never meant to be the only time black history was acknowledged. It was meant to be a starting point, a correction, a call to study deeper and continue learning beyond a single week or month. Over the next 5 videos, we're going to cover why Black History Month exists and what it was originally meant to fix, what Black History Month was never supposed to be, the systems behind the stories, not just the famous names, why this history still matters right now, and how Black History Month was meant to be used beyond February. This month isn't about nostalgia. It isn't about checking a box or sharing the same recycled quotes. It's about context. And once you understand why Black History Month exists, you'll never hear the conversation the same way again. Black History Month was never meant to be a highlight reel. It was never supposed to be a short list of famous names, a few firsts, and the same recycled stories that show up every February. When black history gets reduced to a handful of moments, it makes the struggle look isolated, like everything was solved once one law passed or one speech was given. But black history isn't a straight line from slavery to the civil rights movement to success. It's a continuous story shaped by resistance, policy, backlash, progress, and pushback. Black History Month was also never meant to be inspirational content designed to make people feel good and then move on unchanged. It wasn't created to prove that anyone can make it if they just work hard enough. That version of history removes context. It ignores what people were working against. When the focus stays on individual achievement, the systems fade into the background. The laws, the policies, the restrictions, and the intentional barriers that shaped outcomes disappear from the story. And when you don't understand the system, it becomes easier to blame people instead of questioning the structure. Black History Month wasn't meant to simplify the story. It was meant to complicate it. If you want to understand black history beyond the surface, keep watching, because in the next video, we're going to talk about the systems behind the stories, not just the names we were taught to memorize. And if you want more conversations like this, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Black History Month isn't just about stories, it's about systems. If you only learn the names but never learn the policies, the history will never make sense. Black progress in this country didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened inside systems that were designed to control access to land, education, jobs, housing, and political power. When people talk about how far we've come without talking about those systems, it creates a false narrative. It makes progress look effortless instead of contested. After slavery, laws were passed that looked neutral on the surface, but were anything but. Black codes, Jim Crow laws, voting restrictions, these weren't cultural attitudes. They were written, enforced, and defended by the government. And every time black communities built something, schools, businesses, neighborhoods, there was often a legal or financial response designed to limit, dismantle, or redirect that progress. That's why individual success stories, while real, don't tell the whole truth. They show resilience, but they don't explain resistance. When you understand the system, you stop asking, why didn't they just? And you start asking, who benefited from this structure staying in place? Black History Month was meant to help people study that difference. If this history feels uncomfortable, that's usually a sign you're getting closer to the truth. In the next video, we're going to connect these systems to the present. Why this history still shapes conversations about wealth, opportunity, and access today. Keep watching. And if you want to learn more about the states that shaped Black History Month the most, check out my shorts. Black History Month isn't just about understanding the past. It's about understanding the present. Because the systems we've been talking about didn't disappear. They adapted. When laws changed, the outcomes didn't suddenly reset. Housing, education, employment, healthcare, and wealth-building opportunities were all shaped over decades by who had access and who didn't. That's why conversations about wealth gaps, home ownership, school funding, health outcomes, and economic mobility aren't abstract or theoretical. They're historical. When people ask why these disparities still exist, the answer isn't a lack of effort or ambition. It isn't culture. It isn't mindset. It's math. It's policy. It's access over time. If one group was allowed to build, own, and pass things down for generations, while another was blocked, delayed, or redirected, the results are predictable. Not because of failure, but because of structure. Black History Month matters because it provides context people are often told to ignore. Without that context, current conversations get framed as opinion, debate, or personal responsibility instead of outcome. This history explains why starting from the same place has never been true, why just work harder has always been incomplete advice, and why progress has never moved at the same speed for everyone. Black History Month isn't about reliving pain or staying stuck in the past. It's about understanding the through line, how yesterday's decisions still shape today's reality. If this history feels relevant, it's because it is. And in the next and final video, we're going to talk about what Black History Month was actually meant to do with this knowledge, how it was intended to be used, not just observed once a year. Keep watching. Black History Month was never meant to be the finish line. It was meant to be a beginning. Carter G. Woodson didn't create it, so Black history could be confined to 1 month, revisited once a year, and ignored the rest of the time. He created it as a corrective, a way to address what was missing from how history was being taught and understood. Black History Month was meant to spark study, not surface-level celebration. It was meant to push people to ask better questions, to look deeper, and to continue learning long after February ended. It was never about memorizing dates, repeating the same names, or recycling the same stories year after year. It was about building historical literacy, so people could understand how the past shapes the present. Because when you understand the full story, the conversations we're having today sound different. Conversations about education don't feel abstract. Conversations about wealth stop sounding like opinion. Conversations about access, power, and opportunity start to make sense. Black History Month reminds us that history isn't neutral. What gets taught, what gets skipped, and what gets minimized all influence how people see the world and how people see each other. When parts of history are left out, misunderstandings fill the gap, and those misunderstandings turn into assumptions, stereotypes, and policies. This month is a reminder that understanding history is a responsibility, not a preference. It shapes how we interpret progress, how we measure fairness, and how we define opportunity. Black history isn't something separate from American history. It is essential to it. And Black History Month isn't about looking backward for the sake of nostalgia. It's about carrying knowledge forward with intention, because history doesn't end in February, and the effort to understand it shouldn't either. If this series added context for you, subscribe so you don't miss future conversations like this.